Welcome to Julie Whitney Scott Presents Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1, the Green Renaissance Station. Let's Talk Theater.
Welcome to Let's Talk Theater Time with one of my good friends, Mr. Stephen Woosley. They call him the Woos, okay? All of you out there, you know him right here in Central Ohio. Stephen is one of the amazing people behind OGP and, of course, MadLab. I've worked with him. He's worked with me. We've worked with each other. We've worked with other people together. And I'm so happy that he's with me today. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, Julie. How you doing?
I'm just hanging in here. You and I have been so very busy this year with a lot of things that are still going to happen and coming up. And I just wanted to spend some time with you so we can talk about how's things going and what you're up to. And before we get into our little chit chat, because there might be some people out there that say, well, I don't know who he is.
Right.
All right. What's MadLab? And what does OGP, what's that stand for? Why don't you talk a little bit about first, just letting people know who you are and what those say your production companies are.
Sure. I'm Stephen Woosley. I've been doing theater in Columbus since 2001. I've been with MadLab since 2004. I've done a little bit of everything with them. I was a board member. I'm still an ensemble member. I've acted, directed, written, produced, whatever else you can do. A little bit of everything. You know, if you're on the ensemble there, you might be working the door one night or building a set another, that kind of stuff, which is one of the great things about being a MadLab. But I've been there since, like I said, coming up on about 18 years. Well, I think it is 18 years. 18 years ago this month, I got cast in my first show. So they haven't been able to get rid of me. They've tried, and I've tried to leave. And we are a New Works Theater, and we have our own space downtown. We're at 3rd and Chestnut, right in the heart of downtown. We'll call it the heart of downtown. We've been in that building since 2010. We're kind of getting back to that. To what we generally do is about 5 to 6 full lengths a year. We may be expanding that this year in our space. And then we do 2 festivals. We do our Theatre Roulette Festival, which is coming up in May, which I'm going to talk about in a little more detail here. We also do our Young Writers Festival, our Young Writers Short Play Festival every summer, which is written by Central Ohio high schoolers. And Julia is one of our local mentors who helps those young writers develop their material. So we do that every July. Roulette's usually in May, and then we kind of have full lengths the rest of the year, and then lots of other productions, whether they're our own or, you know, we have some late night stuff. We have a lot of improv that comes in, stand-up comedians. You know, we do act as a rental, so we have folks come in to rent the space. You know, sometimes it's actors, Worthington Community Theater, Ember's been in there. My other company, which I'll talk about now, OGP, we've rented the space at times, done co-productions. So it's very rare that our building is dark. Even between, because you were in there last year, even between Christmas and New Year's, you know, if somebody wants in there, we're gonna come on in. And we are one of the more inexpensive places, which is why our stuff books up very quickly. But we like having other folks in our space. Brings other people to our theater, and plus we like a lot of these companies and the work they do, and they're people we like. And it gets people downtown, and that's kind of like people were like, oh no, this is going way back. When Shadowbox moved downtown, like, are you upset about that? I'm like, no, that's great. There's gonna be a bunch more people coming downtown to watch theater. That's fantastic. So that's MadLab, and I've been there a long time. And then in 2010, I kind of started a little own offshoot, OGP, sometimes called OG Productions, and we're kind of the road team. They're unofficially MadLab road team. We kind of do our own thing. Sometimes, like I said, we've done some full length or 2 here and there at MadLab or wherever we can. We've done shows in Fort Wayne. We've done shows in Yellow Springs. We did a show in New Jersey. That was our last long road trip. But every year we do 2 festivals. We do one on July 3rd for Red, White, and Boom, or whenever Red, White, and Boom is. We do a shorts festival, so people that don't want to go watch fireworks can come see us. And then we also do one for Valentine's Day, so people can come see a bunch of Valentine's Day shorts, and either that can be their Valentine's Day or they can come with their Valentine, then go out to dinner or whatever. We do it early, we do it like 7 o'clock. And we usually do those at the St. James Tavern. And then we've started doing those at a place called Spire Social, which is on the north end of town, which to us feels like a big road trip, because if we go outside 270, we're on our way to Michigan. So we're kind of getting our road company status even more back. And you've written some shows for us for our St. James show. Last summer, our closer actually you wrote, which was hilarious. I was telling some people about it just the other day. Actually, it was so funny. But so that's what we do. That's what OGP does. And like with your own company and stuff you do, sometimes it's like, man, I just want to do my own stuff. But MadLab is still my heart, and that's where I started. And they really gave me my start in doing even more new work stuff. So we'd like to expand, but especially after the last couple of years and stuff, it's busy enough as it is. But that's in a nutshell, a big nutshell. That's the basic stuff I do every year.
Well, you do it. You do a lot, and I want to say that it's nice that MadLab Theater is open and does allow other artists to be able to rent that place, because, as we know, it's very limited in the spaces that individual artists or theater companies who don't have their own space, which we have several of those here in Central Ohio, who don't have their own space but have very productive theater companies. But it's like, okay, so Brett, where are we going? So I think that's really great that MadLab opened its doors up to not just what they were doing, but to allow other people. And like you said, you guys are really busy, because it's hard to get in there, guys. So, because it's one of the few that we have. So that's why all the few that we have, what is it, about 4, maybe 4 or 5, 3 or 4 that you can afford, maybe 2, so if you're just a start out artist, want to come in and do some stand up or something like that, it's nice to have a place.
Yeah, if people just want to do like a one-off or something, or we haven't done this in a few years, but speaking of OGP, we and maybe we'll do it this year, but we've done Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer a couple times, and we did it last time. We did it at MadLab, and we're really just doing the TV show where we do it live, and it's a lot of fun, and we donate the money to Mid-Ohio Food Bank and other charities. But we did it on a Saturday afternoon. There was a completely different show going on that night, but we could do it on the Saturday and not mess with their set. Wow. So we did it I think we did it maybe a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon, actually. So if you can be creative and you're willing to work with another set and that kind of stuff, but I know it just depends on what those companies have going on. So, but we try to pack them in, that's for sure, as much as we can, while still maintaining time for our artists and giving those artists enough time as well. So,
well, it is a dilemma, I kind of have that dilemma, because I'm working and doing things for other theater companies, and it's like I have to keep reminding myself, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Go, check your own emails,
That's right. Yeah.
Check your own timeline. Are you on schedule with your own production? How's that going? So, but it is good, especially since we had the COVID shutdown, to be able to get back together, and to get back to working. You have the Young Theater Festivals coming up, which I am so honored to be a part of that. This is going on my 3rd year. And I am so impressed with the quality of the writers that we have in the high schools. Their work is so some of it is so beyond their teenage years. Talk to us about how important it is, and why MadLab decided that it was important that they did something. Because how many years have you been doing that now?
So I think this will be the 11th.
Yeah,
11th year.
Yeah. So just talk a little bit about that piece of why MadLab felt and continues to feel that it's important to have this theater and have mentors, because you have mentors from local mentors, which I'm one a local, and then you also have mentors national men. And how important is that for these young people?
Yeah, it's, it could be seen as, wow, that's, we're obviously, they're good audiences, obviously, because if you have high schoolers, their friends are going to come and their parents are going to come, and yeah, that's all fine. But beyond that, if you're a new works theater, you want to find those people and you want to develop those people who create new works. And whether they end up doing it here or they end up doing it somewhere else, that work ends up coming back to us. So um, I think that was the initial impetus was, we want to develop these folks, and draw attention to them as well. And plus it's just, it feels good. And then once you get in, and as you know, from mentoring, it's just a great experience, and I just started mentoring, I think 2017. I've done it, I took this year off, but that part's rewarding, but also, even before then, just as director and actor, it was so fun and rewarding to work with them, and the one year I was directing, one of the writers was, we were workshopping. He would come in and we would come up with it was a comedy, so we were coming up with extra bits and things to add in. And I was kind of checking with him, and he was like, well, I got a thought, can we add this? And so that's fun. Some of the writers, they don't come in, they're like, I'll just see you when you do the show or whatever. But it's fun seeing them, and like you said, the quality is amazing. That's the thing that's like, I'm so envious of their I'm envious of their talent. I'm jealous of their talent. I guess I'm jealous of their youth. But it's always exciting to see what they're going to do in the future. And so speaking of our Roulette we did in December, one of the writers was a past young writer, and they're still doing their thing. They're Liam Flanagan. He's in Chicago now, so we did one of his. We got one of his shows, and the other cool part of that was, I don't think anyone that did the reading knew that he was a young writer until it was selected. So we knew once we saw it, like, oh, that's Liam. But the folks reading it, and we've had some, one of my mentees, I was like, you need to submit to Roulette in future years. I said, if you submitted this you need to submit it to other play festivals around, because this is good enough that you could submit it to other places. And the last person I was a mentor for, she or they, I should say, they did we did one of their shows for the OGP Social Distancing Festival 2 years ago, which was a great piece. So I think that's where we feel good, is when they continue writing. But some of them, some folks go a different direction. We had one writer from several years ago. She wrote 2 straight years and then decided, what, I'm changing my major. And she's in New York now. She does poetry. She works for a publishing company and this kind of stuff. So I think so it's that part too. Yeah, as an experience, it's always a lot of fun. Not only from the writing perspective, but also getting involved with the mentors, the local mentors getting involved. You and folks like you, and I can name everyone: Jeremy Lawrence, Jeremy Sony, Chris Leva. People, there's really good playwrights who also care about developing, and they understand the structure of a play and everything. And the amount of time they donate to Tay Lane for another one, the amount of time they devote, and their passion is exciting. And I think gets the kids excited, that gets the young people excited. And then, we end up, it's a fun night of show. It's a really good night of shows. And this year, we've only got 7, but they're getting to see their shows 6 times. We're going to produce them 6 times. And the other thing that happens a lot with those shows in the summer is, some of our folks, it's summer, people take summer vacations, things happen. So we get a lot of new folks in for that. And a lot and younger folks too, because these are written by younger folks, so they write them with high school actors in mind. And so that's another thing we get to have those folks exposed to. And this isn't to disparage local high school theater, because a lot of our people work in high school theater, and they work really hard and do great stuff, amazing stuff, really. James Blackman, Caroline Thompson, I could go on. These are folks who have also contributed to Young Writers. Caroline Thompson, also one of our mentors. But this is, we treat them like professionals too, whether they're acting or writing. So I think it helps give them those tools. There are some high school theaters around that probably I know they have a much better budget than us. So they can also learn about how sometimes you have to make do, cut your corners.
It's so well organized, and like you said, it's an opportunity for these young people to work in a professional environment, get feedback from professionals, see their work performed, because a lot of times they're writing, but they never get to see it come to life, except for in their heads. So they get to see that, and then they also get to decide, is this for me or not? Like the one student. But think about this, even though she decided, well, the theater's not for me. However, she's still in the literary. She's still writing, and she's still, those are the skills that she learned from working as a group, because it is a group process. The mentors, we work as a group. Then we add the students into that part of that group, like you said, through the workshop and all that. Then they become a part of the acting group. So between all of that, it helps them, kind of really make choices and get them feel at that young age before they go and spend all their parents or their own hard-earned money on a degree, and decide like, oh, but I don't really want to do theater, So that's a good thing. And that's the summer, right?
That's that'll be in July. I think for the
it's the second, like the third or fourth week in July.
3 weekends.
So everybody be on the lookout for that.
More to come on that soon. Yeah.
So what's coming up now?
So right now we're in the middle of Theatre Roulette. Theatre Roulette 2022, I think we're calling it. So this one's a little different. So we just did one in December, and that was the first one we've done since 2019. So we had to wait 2.5 years. We cast the one we did in December. We cast December 2021. We cast in January of 2020. So it took almost 2 years before we got to do it. And some people had to drop out, so we had to change some stuff. And we tried to double cast as much as we could because COVID's going on, the Omicron, and all that. So, but still ended up being a success despite despite everything you're fighting against. Felt really good, and really good productions, plays, and stuff. But we've never done two. Well, I shouldn't say never. We did 2009. We did our regular roulette, and then we did a best of roulette. We did the best of the first 10 years. So we did do two roulettes then, but they weren't brand new. So we brought back a lot of people then. This is two completely different productions, both with 21 scripts. So this is so that's a challenge. So yeah, we literally closed Theatre Roulette 2021, and then maybe 5 weeks later, had auditions for 2022. And Will Mackey, our new artistic director, was still selecting the scripts before we even finished the last one. But we got a lot of new people, a good amount of new people. It's great people. The last couple of years we'd had like 100 people audition. We only had 70 audition this year, and we ended up casting 60 of them. And I always say this thing where back in the day we'd get 40 people show up and 20 of them would be good, and then we'd have to really figure out who can go where. Now it's like we have to tell good people that we can't use them, and that's a bummer. It's a good problem to have. It's a bummer still, but we've got some great new people, and we've got a lot of people. Some of the people that couldn't do the one in December, even though they got cast 2 years ago, came back and auditioned for us, so they're back. And a lot of people that were in the one in December, whether it was their first one or whatever, they came back and auditioned and got this one. So that's cool. I mean, it's weird. I think if you went back and looked at the cast for 5 years ago for Roulette, the turnover is a lot. And that, on the one hand, that could look bad, oh, people just don't want to be here. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people that do want to be here. There's some veterans like me.
Well, you know what? But Stephen, I don't think that. I'm glad you said it. You earlier when you was talking about being downtown, and when there was another theater opening, and someone said, was like, "Are you upset about that?" And you made this, and you said, "Well, no, why? I mean, that's what we want. We want more theater." I feel that's the same way it goes. Sometimes we have people that want to be competitive. I think that's why I really like you, and I like working with your production and us as a team and working together, because we don't have that competitiveness of thinking that way. It's more of a, hey, let's get together and let's create. Let's get together and do arts. I was telling somebody just yesterday something we were saying, and I said, I was like, they did something. I was like, that is so good. That is just wonderful. That's just something I cannot do, And I was like, and they kind of undermined themselves. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on now. Because that's what makes us so great. Because God gave all of us so many different talents so that we can bring them things together. It's, I can't do this, but you can do that, or we can do that and you do that, and then you make magic. And so I think it's a good thing when you don't see the same actors all the time, because I think that shows growth. I think that it shows, like you said, that people want to be a part of what you're doing, that people know about what you're doing, and that it helps with that network. Because the more people that you get, the more new people that you work with, the more performance that you work, the more you, at least for me, the more I learn. I learn from every production or something, and every time new people come in that I haven't worked with, that's new stuff that I learned. So I think it's a great thing, and I can say this personally because I've been coming to those roulettes for years, and I personally have enjoyed the growth. I've enjoyed the coming of years and seeing the same actors, and then wait a minute. Because it's starting to get mundane, it's like, oh, I'm gonna see the same actors all the time. I need to see, I don't want to see the same actor. That's like we running a show. I mean, it may be a different play, but it's the same face. Right. It's the same, it's the same voice, same mannerisms. I don't like that. So I think it's great because there are so many actors out there that need work.
I think a perfect example, we were talking before we started this talk, Emery Saunders, that's in your latest production you're directing. He auditioned for Roulette in 2020, and then we had to postpone it or whatever. But then we had the OGP Social Distancing Festival, and we're like, hey, let's see what Emery's up to, because we really liked him in the audition. And then he came in, all of a sudden we're putting him to work. He's in 3 shows. He was in the one you wrote, and it's like, oh man, we're working him hard. And he was kind of green to begin with, and then it was like all of a sudden, like, he's in everything, and like he did like 3 or 4 OGP shows before he even got to do a MadLab show finally. But we were like, man, this guy's been around forever, even though it hasn't been that long. And now seeing him in last year in the Columbus Black Theater Festival, and now he's in this production with you in a full length. I think that's the exciting thing too, is like you meet a new person and you're like, oh, this person auditioned, they must be a pro, and and then it's like, well, no, he's not. This is new to him, but he's obviously that guy's taken into it, and he's
exactly. Because when I saw Emery and other actors that have come through, and I've developed relationships. Jessica Gibson, she's one that I didn't even know she was kind of, when she started. She was with the Black Theater Festival maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 6, I don't know, but she was with MadLab. Too, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, and then actually that's how I started coming to MadLab, because from her working in them, I was like, oh, I was there a couple of years ago for this theater thing. She's like, yeah, I work there now. I'm like, oh, well, see, I'm gonna have to come more, so I can see you and and support your work. So we support them, and then we see them, and look at everything else that they do. So I really like that. And the Theater Roulette is tell the people, because that's kind of a unique way that works. For those that have never been there and are wondering do they have a roulette table out there where we get chips? Right. Or what happens with that?
So the idea is it's 3 separate nights of programming, and they're rotating every weekend. So there's a green night, which I end up handling every year, curating or directing or overseeing, I guess. So we used to kind of give the nights themes, and sometimes you can come up with themes. We essentially have a green night, a red night, and a black night. So one weekend, so this year, green night opens the festival on a Thursday. Friday's black, then Saturday's red. Then the next weekend, red is on Thursday, green's on Friday, black's on Saturday. And then the last weekend, that shifts again. And then the very last day, we call MadLab Christmas. I started calling it that like 15 years ago, because it's the most wonderful time of the year. You have all the shows, it's 21 shows in one day. You've got all the actors in there, and and a lot of them stick around after to see the other shows. You've got a lot of people that wait for that day. We have a lot of people that come in, they're just like, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm coming that day. I'm going to do it all in one day. And, and you like we're talking about all these other people. It's like, oh, somebody who maybe couldn't do the show, but they're there to see it. It's like, so you see a bunch of people you don't know. And then, so all of a sudden it's a big party all day. And then we have the cast party at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a big theater party all day. So like for that day, I'm like, okay, that day. I know I'm gonna pack me a little lunch. I mean, extra water, and I'm just coming out with my comfortable shoes to hang out at the MadLab audience. Stephen has also been helpful and been a part of the production team for the Columbus Black Theater Festival for the last 3 years. So I learned some tricks from him from the MadLab. I mean, from the young writers on how to how to better coordinate that in regards to our readings and things like that. And I learned that's another thing I like. I think we talked about that earlier, how when you work with each other and stuff, you learn things, and you learn how to. And I don't see it as that's what it's there for. If we're doing something, if you're trying to make it secret or something, you don't want to share it, then get that sucker trademark. Because other than that, somebody else is doing what you're doing anyway. You just don't know it, because you don't know them and you're not all over the world. But I've learned, a lot, and you've been a great contribution to the Black Theater Festival as one of our readers. We read those plays blind. We don't know what they are. Remember the year we had 6 more white playwrights than we had blacks, and I was like, well, this is the Black Theater Festival, okay. But we judge them based on the quality of the work, and of course they must have minorities in it, in the story, of course. But we judge it based on the work, not on who wrote it, sex, age, race, or any of that. Just as long as it meets whatever our theme is. And then you direct for us, you've directed, and you've acted. Because one time, you remember, I was like, oh, Stephen, you've got to do this, you have to act this. And then, of course, you got a lucky break last year, because I had that one, I was like, you got to do it unless we find somebody to take your place. And we found what's his, Dexter?
Baxter, and Demetrius.
Baxter.
Yeah.
You found, you was like, okay, I'll just direct.
And those guys were great. I mean, that was
and then that's another thing from our collaboration, because from the Black Theater Festival, one of the plays that we selected and produced, you went ahead and talked about this, guys, listen to this, and made a short film with one of the plays, Black Irish. Good, we got some good actors out there in our community. Central Ohio is blessed to have a great theater community. Is there anything that you want that we haven't discussed that you want to make sure that the audience knows about this coming up with either OGP or MadLab?
I think I'll just throw out the, madlab.net, look for us there. To see what OGP is up to, we do have a Facebook page to search for us at OGP Columbus. Our next show will be July 1st and July 8th. July 1st at the St. James Tavern. July 8th will be at Spire Social. And we just sent out a call for those plays. So we're just starting to get scripts in for that. So we'll be doing that right after Roulette. We'll be jumping into that. And then the same time, Young Riders. So if you want to find out what OGP's up to, go check there. MadLab, madlab.net. We'll be announcing our season soon for MadLab. Will is still pulling that together. I think he's made his selection. So There'll probably be some kind of, I'm hoping to have some kind of announcement party or event or whatever, one way or the other, whether it's a MadLab or a watering hole or whatever. So, yeah.
And it's always good to talk to you, Stephen. I can't wait till I see you again, and we can get together and have some fun.
Very soon.
All right. Thank you for
joining me, Julie Whitney Scott, your producer and host of Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event heard only on WGRN LP 94.1. For the full video interview, go to my Julie Whitney Scott Facebook page.